Hello, my little squirrels. I would like to inform you that what you are about to listen to are our views and comments from the host. Guests only reflect their own view and not the community as a whole. Not all those squirrels out there, I mean. I hope you enjoy the podcast and Eddie play that banter section. Whoop whoop!
So I've literally just rushed back to this podcast because I've just finished having a Thai massage. Because I booked it for thinking this would like relieve me for the aches and pains I've had from Comic Con. No, the guy just gave me more aches and pains.
You just paid to be beaten up.
I really did. I really did think, have I bought the wrong package here? Was there a secret code that I mentioned by accident, and now I'm literally paying for it? Like it got to a point where he was giving me so much pain. I was ready to release any information I had that government asked me to keep secret, but I didn't know what he wanted. But even I didn't know what to say. So I was like in so much pain for a while. So yeah, I don't know if I can walk anymore.
Yeah, I mean, some people would get that for free. You could have just opened your mouth at con and got that for free.
Just tell someone their cosplay shit, and they'd be like, right.
Hey Beth, your cosplay shit.
Yeah, it's because my wig keeps falling off my head if I don't pay attention, man. Elsa was off on Friday. She was gone.
She was gone.
That bitch was glued at the temples and she was still heading out. Like...
Oh,
you could say I let it go.
Hey,
Oh,
let it
please.
go. Anyway. Hello everybody, this is the Ed Talks About podcast, a podcast series talking about cosplay, Comic-Con, and everything else. I'm your host Eddie, and this week we are talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of MCM London 2025 May edition.
Oh my god, that wasn't planned.
That was actually fantastic. That's it, we've peaked.
Yeah,
Let's end the podcast. Bye guys.
Bye.
No, we're still here. I actually half effed up the way I actually structured it. I should say MCM London May 2025, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So yeah. Anyway, joining us on the podcast is Beth of What's Cosplay, and for some reason it says Agatha, but I do know it's Charlotte from Charlotte Warwick Cosplay or Photography. Welcome to you both.
Hi.
Hello.
Wow, the enthusiasm of that! Oh my god.
But you said don't talk over each other, so we've both just paused.
We're being polite and mindful.
Yeah, and maybe demure.
Very demure.
Polite and I don't know if I know you two actually. Then if that's the case, oh man. Anyway, we've got a lot to get through, but I'll do a quick catch up. Beth, how are you? How's the last 7 days for you besides Comic Con?
Yeah, it's been really good actually because I was on holiday like the week before MCM, so I had a week of holiday, did 3 days of work, and then had 4 or 5 days off for con. So it's actually doing 3 days of work in the last 2 weeks has been fantastic. I definitely recommend not working full time.
But I heard your hand was a little heavier recently.
Yes, I got engaged while we were on holiday.
Oh, so I mean, congratulations!
Congratulations!
Thank you. This makes me an adult now. I don't know. I still feel internally about like 18. So
yeah, be careful which number you use for that.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, congratulations and all that. I heard you lost a lot of followers because of that. So
yeah, I did actually. It was quite funny because I think it's like I post about my partner on Instagram like fairly often, but he's not like a social media person like at all, which is completely fair. And I, posted a picture about my engagement so I could just tell all my friends at once. And I literally lost like 10 followers. It was really funny.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Yeah, as you should, Eddie. But I'm also like, if you're hanging around and following someone in the hopes that they're single and you've got a chance with them, like that's a bit weird. Yeah, to put it politely.
Yeah, put it politely.
Like, being polite, that's really fucking weird.
Oh man. Anyway, thank you very much, Beth. Charlotte, how are you? How was the last 7 days minus Comic Con?
They were really good. I've also just come back from holiday.
Oh yeah.
So I had like a cool 3 days of work before finishing con crunching. But yeah, I was up in the lakes with the fam and the boyfriend. Didn't get engaged, but there's time. And sorry, yeah, if you now know I've got a boyfriend because he also isn't on social media, you guys can unfollow me too, I guess.
I'm following now. I'm following now.
Yeah, perfect. But no, it's just been chill, and then comms nice and chill as well. So it's been quite a nice week actually.
Oh, that's good. Good to hear. Good to hear. Sorry to rush that because there is a lot to get through, a lot to talk about. So as hopefully a lot of people know, MCM London May 2025 just happened just ago. Today's Monday. It's now 8:29. So it happened about 20. It finished just over 24 hours ago for majority of us, all of us, and as I do a review show of the event and just want to talk about it. So it's broken up into 3 parts. It's the good, anything that's good, the bad, anything like minor issues here and there, anything ugly, like big issues and things like that. And for once, I actually remembered to put up a post. I did a video from my bed to say if anyone wanted to comment about the event, go for it. And I've actually got some responses, so hopefully we've got time to go through some of them. I can't go through all of them because I think some of them do repeat. But yeah, it would be good to like pick some good ones out towards the end. But yeah, hopefully we'll get through those. And yeah, I just thought we'll just share our thoughts and opinions of the event. I'll kick off with the good, and I think I've said this one before, but so I was there for one day in October last year, and I so I think I bought a ticket that day, and I walked past when I got my badge. I walked past the table and I saw this pile of paper. What's this? And it's paper maps of the event, and I thought this was absolutely brilliant. And I'm glad they're back. I'm glad they kept doing these maps because I think sometimes with phone signals um and like batteries and all that, you're not always guaranteed to have a phone with you that's working. So have a paper map to go, oh, this store's here, that store's there, here and there and the everywhere. I feel that's a great thing. Did you two see these paper maps?
I saw them. I didn't actually. I assumed that they were just for the treasure map thing that they were doing. But if it was a proper map, that's really good because my phone has never worked at con, and a map actually would have been really nice to like check out. So hopefully they keep them so next year I can grab one because that would be much more convenient.
Yeah, just to say, it says there's pocket guide and map. So I've literally picked one up. It's got lots of information about ATM, first aid, info pack, and it's really like artistically done. Shows you where the catering is, the entrance, the live stage, the artist alley, things like that. And like it's literally got an exhibition list below it. So it makes it so easy to find. I will admit that I know I'm talking about the good. It wasn't quite so easy. Oh wait, am I lying? I was going to say. Though they've like given numbers and letters and say this is where they are, it's not that obvious where it is when you go in the hall. There's no big signs to say, this is row R and K and D and this is 2 or 8, things like that.
There was a north.
There was
Sorry,
no, it's fine. There was in North, did you say?
Yeah, so once you got into North Hall, because there was kind of scattered stalls towards the front that were kind of misaligned, and there was some Magic the Gathering bits and bobs in the official MCM store. But once you got to the back where it was just the straight up and down vendors, at the front kind of each partition, it did give you the letters for that aisle. I think I really like the handheld maps, and it's great, there's loads of info on it. I think my only minor gripe about it is this beautifully artistic rendition of the map. So some parts of it aren't overly practical. They've got a really beautiful illustrator to do it. I can't remember the name of the artist. It is really, really nicely done. But I think in terms of like practicality, there's some bits that aren't so clear, like the writer's block area. Kind of just says writer's block. You can't see all the tables. But I'm absolutely here for them just bringing back physical maps because I saw quite a few people using them. And like you said, the signal there is non-existent. And I like that on the app they have the interactive map, so I can put in the stall I wanted to find, and I could use it like Google Maps. But could you? Did we have signal in the hall? No.
I had better signal this weekend than I did at an event in January using the same venue. Should I mention it? Fuck it. It's a MegaCon Live, but I just found the Wi-Fi was a lot better this weekend than it was in January for some strange reason. But yeah, Charlotte, was there anything added you want to talk about the map or?
I think because I heard a couple of vendors saying like they've been put in quite different places to normal. So if you, and I would agree, like some of the big like book areas and stuff have moved around. So if you were looking for a certain area and relying on your knowledge from before, like it's nice to know, like even generally, like oh they're not at the end, they're in the middle of a hall instead, so you're not kind of wandering all the way up and then going, oh shit, I've overshot. So like any form of showing willing to help your guests find their way around is a positive in this day and age, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely.
no, absolutely. To be fair though, I still don't actually look at the map. I picked one up, but I just didn't even bother to go where. There's always like 3 or 4 vendors I always look for, and I just go on a hunt because I think that way around I get to see the stalls rather than going. If I'm so narrow vision to go, if I just look for the 3 stalls that I'm looking for, I miss out a lot of other things. So, yeah, when I do my Instagram lives, walking around, going, hey, I can see this and I can see that. That's my way of like seeing things. Although I'm not really paying attention, so that's still on me. Oi. Anyway, I'll do one more good, and then I'll let these 2 come in with their goods before I finish on my list. But it's quite interesting that when I picked up my badge to get into the venue, I noticed that the accessibility entrance was very close to where everyone was funneled in to get their badges. So I'm assuming for the badges for like the weekenders or the day badges, you have to go all the way down to the other end. Whereas this accessibility was right at the front, so they can just get in, pick up their badge, and then go into the hall straight away. I love that.
Yeah, that's definitely an improvement on last year because they have badge pickup for like creator passes, for access passes, and like industry and that. October they had it all as you came in like the pyramid entrance at West Entrance, and there was just like a couple of little help desks there, and that backed up so quickly because they were also letting people in the West Entrance that already had their they already had picked up their weekend passes or priority passes. So it just became a bottleneck, whereas this time around it was actually really helpful. So anyone that already had a pass could go in West Entrance.
Yeah.
If you had your like industry access or creator pass, you did go down the North Lorry Way, but you were in the first hall. You came out into N1.
Yeah.
And then everyone else picking up tickets had to go a little bit further down. So my partner and his mum picked up their tickets on Friday.
Yeah.
And I want to say they ended up down by like N8 or something like that. It was like it was way further down the bottom. I've even been in like N10. I don't know. I'm making stuff up, but it was all the way down, so it was separated out a lot better, which made traffic flow a lot easier. Which was good. Although like minor like first world problem grumble. I kind of wish they would just send out the creator passes. Like please just post it out to me. Like they were very kind to post out goodie bags if you like applied for them and were successful. So I'm like, you have my address. You could have just sent my creator pass in that, but it was way easier to pick up this time than it was last year.
I get that. Charlotte, did you get creator or just a normal weekender pass?
So, well, I had a weird one. I bought a weekend pass, as I always do. Because if you ask me to fill out a form, that's me out the first hurdle. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to Google what now? And I really like that now if you get your badge sent to you, this has been the case for the last few years, that you can go straight in the gates at the bottom. So if you're staying at the hotels and you have your pass, you can walk straight into the outside area. That's very nice rather than doing a 1.5 mile loop of a building. I ended up with an exhibitor pass, weird one, because I was working for Mattel and the BBC on Friday morning.
Oh, okay.
Exciting. But because
that's really cool.
Working for them, so I had to be in at 8 and con opens at 10. They gave me an exhibitor pass and then we're just like, keep it. So I had a nice hot pink pass for the weekend, which works the same as a weekend. I'm sure I could have gotten another door, but I couldn't be bothered because, as you said, like there was no bottlenecking. They did actually a good job of spreading everyone out, especially coming in. Even at the other end, there wasn't a big queue when you wandered up, so that was quite nice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. I felt like they've may have solved. I don't want to touch, don't want to jinx it, but they've solved traffic flow this time round.
I think they spread out. I was talking to some people about this. I think they've spread out the stalls a lot more. So, because I was talking to one of my friends, who had a wheelchair with them, and they were saying like they felt like they were a lot less crushed as well. So we all reckon the stalls were a lot wider apart, which made it, even though there was still the same amount of people, made it feel a lot less like you were pushing past people the whole time. So that was nice.
No, that's good. Yeah, no, I think someone else I've heard make that comment. I personally didn't notice that the aisles were wider, but then again, I'm not in the area that much, so I will take someone else's opinion over mine any day of the time. As I was going to say, I was going to let someone else talk for the goods. I'll start with Beth, as it's alphabetical. Beth, was there any good that you wanted to talk about the event?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed it. I don't really have that many complaints from the weekend. I have a couple of little like irritations. But no, overall, really enjoyed it. Like I said, the traffic flow was a lot better. The aisles were definitely wider, especially around Artist Alley. I noticed they were almost like double the width, which was really, really good. It still was a little bit busy in some places, but that's just sheer volume of people. That's going to happen. Yeah, the definitely having the passes and the entrances spread out worked wonders. Didn't have that much trouble this time. I always seem to fall on the right end of security.
Yeah.
I've touch wood not had that many issues in the past, but I definitely have friends that have had some unpleasant encounters. For me, because I live fairly local, I drive in every day and park up.
Yes. You made a post about that, didn't you? About the parking.
Yeah. So for the last, goodness, how long? I want to say for the last couple of years, they kind of recommended you book your parking in advance, which I didn't know about until I want to say it was like May last year or the year before, where we were stuck in an enormous traffic jam getting into the XL for parking. And there were stewards there saying, "Oh, have you pre-booked?" And we were like, "Oh, no, didn't realise that was a thing you could do." So for the Sunday the next day, we pre-booked. And now it almost seems to be like an absolute requirement. So I think last October they said, you won't get in unless you've pre-booked your parking in advance. So we made sure to do that.
I was going to say, I think half of the car park is now officially like the McLaren stuff.
Yeah.
So because from last year, they were like, you have to pre-book, like you can't pay inside at all. They've taken away all the pay stations. So like going forward, if anyone's driving in, I think you do it's not cheaper either way. You just have to book before you get there.
Yeah, because Saturday's gone from queuing up outside the car park for like half an hour to we almost sailed straight in because they were checking lots of people in advance. So anyone that hadn't pre-booked got sent in a different direction for like almost an overflow car park. And then we got right in, and thankfully security can be a bit funny about letting you up into the venue through the car park. And I've had multiple weekends where like the Friday they've let you up through the car park in, the Saturday they've made you walk around the building, the Sunday they've let you in. So that it almost seems dependent on who is on security, and also where they make you park. Because if I can see the entrance, I am going to make a beeline for it. I don't really want to have to do laps around the venue.
No, we will talk about the security later on. But yes, go carry on.
But yeah, no, like overall, genuinely like really good event.
Okay.
For me personally, what I want and what I get out of MCM, which is like a lot of shopping, and seeing my friends and getting some photos. But I know everyone's experience kind of differs on what they want out of the event.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about the stall wise, because I, as I said, I just do a quick floaty around, look at things. Was there a good spread of things to see and buy, or were there quite a few repetitive stalls, such as like the inevitable? Was there lots of Funko Pop stalls?
I feel like there's way less Funko Pops than previous years, thank goodness, because I remember as we came back, like after lockdown and everything, I remember just thinking like, my God, who needs this many Funkos? I did see some people saying there was a lot of like AliExpress type of drop ship nonsense. I definitely saw a lot of scalping prices, so I went mostly for like a lot of Pokemon cards this time around as I've got back into collecting them. I had to be very careful about there's stuff that for sure you cannot buy in shops anymore because they're all sold out because there's a massive hype around it at the moment. But there was a lot where it was like, well, hold on, you bought this for £20 and you're selling it for 70. Like, what are you doing? So there was a lot of like markups in that instance that I really noticed. But there was a lot of a lot of my favourite small businesses were there that I like to see. I always really enjoy Artist Alley. Artist Alley felt enormous this time. I think it was like half of the South Hall, which I think was fantastic because I'd rather have a giant Artist Alley any day over like repeated like pop vinyls, and even over like some big brands. I think some brands work well with Comic Con, and other brands I'm just like, why are you here?
I can actually confirm it's about a quarter of the south side, I think.
Southside, yeah, that was really good. I really enjoyed that.
So, yeah.
It was good to see that many kind of small artists being supported.
No, that's good. That's good. Charlotte, not knowing that you were actually working parts of the event, did you get to look around? Was there any other goods that you wanted to add on top of that?
Yeah, I was only working Friday morning, so I feel like that's weird enough that I'm, to be fair, not normally in con at that time. So if anything, I got to see more.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Friday and Sunday inside were actually really nice. It didn't feel crushed at all, so that was good. But obviously I was outside for most of it. And I have to say, some years I felt really kind of like harried or watched by security when like photographers are doing stuff, or, you know, kind of crowded. And strangely, whilst there are a lot of people in the trees, everyone around the tree kind of area mostly stuck to the less lighting equipment, please. And it felt much easier to like shoot and chill. There were still lighting stands up around.
Yeah.
And there was also a phenomenal guy who had a grey backdrop up against grey walls. Who I have to shout him out. And I also think we should return to him in the bad bit. He's probably a great photographer, but fucking hell, what a choice.
I saw that because I think he was there in October, and I was like, be so serious. And I'm sure I'm not a photographer, from an editing standpoint, maybe it's easier to have a smooth back, but
no,
still grey.
But
still a grey wall, just a special grey wall.
The only good part about that is that last time he had his backdrop up in the trees, which I considered a massive safety hazard because he was actively in the way. I feel it was the same bloke and also annoying. But it's just like a wall's a wall. And I said to someone at one point, this is such a nerdy joke that only photographers will get, I was like, whack a Gaussian blur on one of those grey walls at 25% and you'd have his backdrop anyway. So like, why you need to bring freestanding equipment, meh. But what was nice was that...
What was nice? No, you cannot say that. You cannot say that.
No, because I can't say the bad bit because I will return to the bad bit. What was nice outside was that everyone seemed very respectful of each other. There was no like, you know, some years security's been going through the trees, kind of like moving people around a bit. That didn't happen this year. It seemed pretty decent. Yeah, I had a good time.
No, that's good. That's good to hear. Okay, all right. Well, if that's the case, let me finish off my my goods then. And I've only got 2 more points. There's lots of other goods, but I mean, I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again. So these are just things that I've noticed this time around, just in case people are going, well, that seems to be a short list. I did notice this when I walked past the area, but someone else pointed out to me as well. There's a reset room in the Platinum Suite, so in the middle of the corridors between the north and south side of the halls. If you go upstairs to the Platinum Suite, there's a reset room where you can, like, if you are of a ADHD, autism, neurodivergent, is it divergent or
neurodiverse?
I always get...
yeah, it is neurodivergent. I think.
Oh, is it?
You're also thinking of that like film and like books.
Yeah,
divergent.
Yeah. If you need to have literally a reset, you need to get away from everything for the sound, the noise. No, sound and noise, same thing. The sound, light, peep and all that. That's someone used it quite recently. The person I was talking to, they said, "Oh, I used that room and it really helped. Really helped me calm down and really just reset my batteries and all that." I went, "Oh my god, that's something I need to talk about." So I think it's a charity that runs it. So whoever you are, I'll try to put a link in the description so that I properly thank them. But that's always good to see that someone does a reset room.
That's good.
Yeah, because I think I'm more and more realizing and seeing that the Comic-Con events do cater to a certain demographic, and it's always good to have the spectrum that I just mentioned earlier. But at the same token, you can't just invite those people but have no service to help them at the same time. So it was just nice to see that, really. The other good, which this may sound very self-indulged and very egotistical, but it's my podcast. I don't care. I was on a panel. I did a panel. I actually did this podcast live on a stage. Yes, I was. I have. Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was nervous. I was sweating. I literally 10 minutes before I had to go on stage, I literally ran around looking for the toilet because I really thought I was going to wet myself on stage. So I just went around and I just ran. But no, I was with Chirac Cosplay. They're the one that actually got me on the panel. They were the one that set it all up, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I really thought I was going to be blabbering and just not being coherent, but those who turned up, it was really good to see people there to listen. And yeah, I had a really good time. I'd love to do another panel, but hopefully in October and going forward, really. So yeah, I had a wonderful time. So yeah.
Yay, that's good. I was going to show up to that, but I think what the heck was I doing? I know I had to sit down and have breakfast because I suddenly felt very hungry.
Yeah.
But also I was like, because we joked about it the day before. I really
Yeah.
didn't want to turn up and just put you off by existing.
To be fair, and I got a comment about this, and I knew it myself. I never really looked at the audience. I just kept looking at my co-host, just my guest. I just never looked at the audience. I kept flicking every so often, but I think it was easy to ignore and then concentrate on the person in front of me. I think the more panels I do, the more easy I will interact with the audience a little bit more with eye contact. But yeah,
I love that you did a panel though. Like it's showing that they're including more photographers, especially in like instead of just going, how do you sew this? How do you make this? How do you create this? They're going, okay, and now we want the post-production and the photography side of it. So I'm very excited for you that you're like trailblazing that.
Oh,
Well
absolutely. Yeah, because we did the panel was half and half of like a cosplayer's point of view, photographer's point of view of how to get the most out of a Comic-Con weekend, or how do we get into it, things like that. So it was like really nice to reminisce and talk about the history of like how we got into the field that we are in at the moment.
That's really good.
Yeah. Any other goods before we move on to the bads?
The food is great.
And
the food was I actually do want to shout this out. There's what I think is new, and I might have just missed it every other year. Little like chicken, it's basically chicken and chip shop in the actual XL hallway that my boyfriend and I had food at. It was really nice. I was like, oh my god, I've had an actually like lovely, very well priced meal in the XL. But they also had food carts at both ends this year with loads of seating. So I think that was great. And like definitely they've listened to people before asking for more seating and more food because they'd clearly accounted for it. They were like diagonally opposite each other with two separate seating areas. So like you were pretty much guaranteed to find a space somewhere or like food that you liked somewhere. There was like loads of food options. So I think they did a good job there.
Excellent. Oh no, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I think it's good to hear that MCM Repop do listen to feedback, and they do improve. They are improving, little by little, step by step, and it's always good. Beth, anything else before I move on to the bad?
No, I have to agree on like the food and the seating though, because I think the last couple of events I've never had any problems finding somewhere to sit. Like before, there's been events where we've paced around for ages, especially around like peak lunchtime hours. But this time around, you maybe had to walk a little bit up the hall, but you could still find somewhere to sit. And back in the day, it used to be like you just have to sit on the floor for like an hour or so.
Oh god, yeah.
So it's a lot better than it was. I think definitely it really feels like in the last couple of years they are actually really taking stuff on board and listening.
No, absolutely,
which is good.
100%. Cool. Right, that's for the good. Let's talk about the bad. Let me do the ones that I think affects everyone before I go to old man yell at cloud persona. I'm really realizing that that's becoming more me than I realized. So yeah. Anyway, I think I think this is more or less go hand in hand. I think the outside area where the barriers are, I feel like that. No, I don't feel like I know that got smaller, but I think I know why though. So what I mean by the barriers that like keep us all penned in, so that they security know who's paid for a ticket, who should be here, and things like that. I remember that the fence never really touched certain parts of the what's inside. So the famous grey walls, there's always seemed to be a gap between the riverside, the pavement area, and then the barrier to the grey walls. But this year, that barrier was right against it, right up to that wall. I'm going, that's new. And then notice that the other sides of the barriers were considerably, not saying considerably, it was, I would say, a meter closer in. Now, a meter closer in, for the size it is nothing. But I think then that started to impact the other things I'm about to mention, is about how everyone from, con goers, cosplayers, cosplay photographers, cosplay meets, people doing their TikTok videos, were all in that same barred area, because from last year, from October, we were told we can't do anything beyond the barriers because security would be on hand to go, sorry, you need to come back inside of the barriers. Again, I don't know why that was a thing, or why that was why Excel asked maybe MCM to ask patrons to stay inside, or vice versa. I don't know. I couldn't, I'm not part of any, chain communication that says, oh, this is the reason for this. I would love to know some of these answers, but because everything was smaller, it was a little bit smaller inside that barrier, and everyone had to be within the barriers. It just felt the Saturday even more busy. And I do hate when people say this. When people say, "Oh, it's overcrowded," oh no, they clearly oversold. No, they didn't. I will stand by this. They can't. I'm sure for health and safety reason, if they especially get audited to go, hey, by the way, can we just check how many tickets you sold? Wait, we only said you can only do 100,000 and you've done 150. Well, we're stuffed. I'm sure there's an insurance thing and all that's involved. Anyway, sorry, I'm babbling. But because of that perception of being oversold, because everyone was in the barrier area, and then when people do their cosplay meets, they then spread out to create space to do their lineups. I'm not blaming and I'm not having a go at that moment, but because that you shift that space out from that space to be created, that space has to go somewhere else for people to stand and move. It just makes everything more crowded. Anyway, I want to pipe down now.
No, I agree, because especially because they put out a few things in advance this year saying no photography outside of the gate at all, will crack down. And to be fair, they were not as strict as I thought they'd be. They were quite generous with letting people do a few small shoots outside, but mainly because I think people were much better this year about not everyone being outside. But if you're going to restrict everyone publicly to inside the gates, but also make the area smaller, and they know how many meets and stuff they have, it would, especially where the meets are, it felt like even just a couple more meters around, so meets could have been slightly more spread out, would have made a difference.
Yeah.
Because when the meets start spreading into the trees or the grey walls, or it gets harder to get through routes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to say quickly one thing before you jump in, Beth. I hate to talk about another event, but I think MegaCon actually had a hall for cosplay meets. So
I don't remember, to be honest.
I'm sure I heard this.
I think another part of the problem is that everyone's meets in the same place, more or less. There was bottom of the stairs by the statue, and I kind of think that obviously MCM approved these and popped them on their socials, and you can find them on the app or whatever. And I know it would probably be very, very difficult for the organisers, but if they could maybe go, hey, there's already a meet at this time in this area, could you maybe pop it elsewhere? But yeah, no, it definitely felt way tighter out there, because I saw people's there was a TikTok I saw from the Saturday of outside, and it was crammed. It was giving bank station a rush hour.
No, absolutely, yeah. So,
but my argument for that is, inside at that point was actually really nice and quiet comparatively. So everyone's going, oh my god, MCM oversold tickets. No, you're just all outside. You all want to be outside for meets, photo shoots, content creation, trying to catch your friends, have a vape or whatever. But inside, because like I said, I spent a lot of time inside at the vendors' halls. Inside on the Saturday wasn't too bad. There was a few bits where I was like, that's a crowded walkway. I'm going to go a different direction. Yeah, like, it was busy outside, but it was quiet inside. If it had been the same as a couple of years ago, like we've been talking about, where it was so busy that you couldn't get in and there was nowhere to go outside, then yeah, I'd be like, yeah, MCM have done something shady here. But it was just because everyone was outside. You know, the weather was good, everything interesting was going on out there. People watch, they want to try and catch their friends, they want to film stuff. So yeah, everyone was just outside. But I think also what MCM have done, because they're now, you know, they have stopped people shooting like around the XL and they've penned everybody in. They've also just kept more pedestrian walkways. So where the way used to kind of be right up against the Sunborn, like the big ship, and the edge of the Thames. But now they've brought the barriers in, so there's an easy pedestrian walkway for people to go past. I think my slight beef was like there was less. The only places you could kind of escape the pen was back up the stairs and like down either side of kind of the front of the west entrance. Or there was one exit point right all the way to kind of towards the hotels. So when I wanted to meet a photographer by like the bridge area, which also they were letting us shoot outside as long as you weren't being ridiculous, I walked all the way to the edge of that fence and was like, oh, I can't get out here, and I had to double back all the way around, find the snaking line of people that could go back up the stairs past everyone sat on them, and all the way back down and round. So that was a bit of a pain in the butt. I also have to say, given that MCM released like a whole statement with the XL about not having freestanding lights, oh my gosh, there was still so many photographers, and I'm going to say it, it's mostly men. It was mostly male. Every male photographer I saw, pretty much, apart from like Eddie and a couple of others, had freestanding lights. Every kind of female femme presenting photographer I saw just had their camera. And, you know, like Charlotte said, there was the guy with the grey wall against the grey wall, and to me that is absolute nonsense. But I mean, yeah, last year he was set up in the trees, and I was personally ready to punt over that silly bloomin' stand. It was ridiculous. So I think definitely, and I think this also comes hand in hand with photographers that are now trying to charge at the events, that are like, oh well, I'm allowed to charge because I've shot outside of the MCM boundaries, which I think is also why MCM are cracking down on anyone shooting outside of boundaries by saying, well, this is still over the XL.
I was going to say that, just because you're outside the barriers of what MCM are penned into, the barrier end, doesn't mean you're off XL property, and you do need a permit, and they will definitely have a huge problem with you taking photos. But yeah, sorry, just to go back a couple of conversations back, I was just saying that I'm sure I did hear it from MegaCon. I think, basically, I'm trying to think of how to solve this, but I don't think you can really, because I think, like you were saying, Beth, you can't, if you're giving more space for pedestrians to walk up and down, I actually don't mind that. I can actually understand the reason why for it. But if you're going to shrink that size, I think if they could hire out another hall to do those cosplay meets in the halls, I think that'd be a lot
Thing
better.
is, I think we're already using the whole of the XL at this point.
I'm
I
sure
think there's maybe only like one or two more halls that aren't being used, like right down towards the east entrance.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna have to find out how many halls they have. But yeah, sorry, Charlotte, you've been very, very quiet.
I've been thinking. No, in a good way. You've made a really good point, and what I saw this year, which is what I've kind of been pushing for, and actually I'm excited about, they had I can't remember the name of the photographer because I'm rubbish. Inside the con, they allowed one of the stands to be a photography stand with a light setup and a background setup, and you could get 3 photos for £100 something, which is very reasonable, by the way, if you're going to complain. And it was like a white backdrop, and they take your picture, and then they do fully edit, like composite edits of everything in. And their examples were beautiful, like stunning photography, stunning editing. So there's a little team. It was like a photographer, editor, a couple of other people. That is what and they were obviously charging people. That is, if you want to make money from con, how you do it. That's how they do it in America. That's how they do it in Australia. All of the bigger cons, like outside of Europe, you can book a booth space. You can set up your lights where it's safe and they're not going to get kicked over. You can have whatever backdrop you want, and you literally do a transaction. You charge someone for a picture for whatever edit. If we're now allowed to do that in con, I think the people that want to be shooting with studio lights and stuff should be dying for space inside con, because why have you got studio lights fighting with the sun? If you're shooting with studio lights and backgrounds, book yourself a space in the con, put whatever prices you want up on it, and then people can come to you. And that it's proven really popular in America. Like, a lot of the cosplay photos I saw when I first started all came from that. So I kind of would be a massive advocate for, like, if you don't want to shoot natural light and you don't want to shoot with people in the background because you're not confident you can shoot around it, do that. If MCM are now allowing it, take up that space, set your prices, and I reckon those people could have charged more because their work was incredible, but set your prices, have examples of your work, have a free advertising stall alongside taking people's photo if you think there's a market for it. But like, they've literally made that possible for you now. So now if you're charging and shooting outside with studio lights and all this jazz, why?
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. I mean, that's my old man yell at cloud list that I've got here. Like, I will not just to always jump on the photographers with light stands. There is a rule that says photographers are not allowed to have freestanding light stand. They can hold it in the hand. They can't have it as a stand. Now, I will defend the photographers with one thing. If you're going to ban or say you can't have stands for lights, then I think you need to look at the TikTokers or influencers, whatever you want to call them, with those mobile phone stands. Yes, I know they're not as big. I know they're not as intrusive and things like that. But someone else pointed that out, and I went, that's a really good point. Though I know they're not the same caliber, I'm not saying the same thing. Maybe the stands are seen to be a professional level type of photography, and that's the reason why they don't want to be. They're banned of some sort. But if it's a health and safety reason, sorry,
I think it's a weight risk though, because and this is what I'd say is that if you've got a light that requires a tripod, even if it's one of the super light LED ones, it's a top heavy thing. So if a kid trips over the bottom of the stand, that's going to fall. If you trip over a phone stand, yeah, it will probably fall, but not in the same danger level way. Well, so I do agree it should be one rule for everyone.
Yeah.
But it is the photographers bringing, like, the glass bulb, proper strobe lights and stuff to con that are the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
I think that also, like, a moment about that. So I noticed when I parked up on yesterday on Sunday. Now, we got there for just before 12 because the people I was with had general entry, and I was happy for a lie-in. When we set up in the car park and we weren't that far from kind of the centre entrance, there was people saying up to shoot in the car park, and I'm like, yeah, fine, you can get some pretty good, specific themed shoots in a car park for certain, like, medias and all that. It gives you the nitty gritty that you don't get outside by the trees. But when I went back to my car, like 4.5 hours later, there was, like, in between, like, multiple rows of cars was multiple freestanding lights all set up. Like, they'd basically all set up full studios in the car park. And I kind of have to think, like, I get you've come to con and you've now got a whole range of photographers you can work with. But I'm like, you've just paid MCM prices to set up in a car park where you could have done that, like, literally anywhere else. And also, I went to my car and someone had set up a whole studio in front of it. And I was just stood there like, well, I'll give you 5 minutes because I'm going to, slightly change out my costume so I'm not driving home in, like, a full ball gown. But I'm going to need you to move your shit because I can't take my car out any other way. And, it's a car park. The cars have the right of way. But I'm also not going to hit. It was a ridiculous amount of lights.
Can I jump back as well? Because I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on the having mini studio set up in con.
Yep, go on.
I just want to know what you guys think of it. If you think it's a good idea, like a good way round the problem if you're catering to photographers.
Your suggestion of having it as a stall and things like that.
So what the general thing is like you book a booth space, for example, with, like, the walls on it, and then you can basically put up a backdrop against one of the walls, have your computer and stuff at the other end, and all of your lights are within the stand space.
Oh no, I agree with that 100%. I think that type of photography, like okay, let's be serious about this grey background on the grey walls. Oh god, that's giving me a headache. But I did think, why haven't you just gone inside? Why haven't you paid a thing? Okay, he's not. I'm hoping he's not charging. So that's I think. I think basically the reason why photographers won't do that or haven't done that, or many photographers haven't done that, because they just don't want to pay it. They don't want to pay that, but not realizing they could charge cosplayers for that. But then it then trickles down to, would cosplayers pay for that when they know they can get a similar photo outside in front of the grey walls or with a different photographer elsewhere around the barrier area? I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? It's
I think people are willing to pay for that service, but I think it all boils down to these guys don't want to pay for the space, but they do want to earn money off it. So they try to use all the loopholes they can for shooting and charging photographers for it around the XL. But I agree with Charlotte. I think it's fantastic that there was places set up for dedicated photo shoots and you could get proper, nice pictures done. And also, that controls the quality and it controls more. There's more of a contract, there's more an agreement. You know, if there's any problems between you and that booth, you know, it can go through like ReadPop and MCM or the XL or whatever. It's not suddenly between a guy and your Instagram DMs outside by the trees. Like, I think you're a lot more protected, and I think that's very important. I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to see more of a photographer focus, because, you know, like Charlotte was saying again about panels, a lot of the panels are cosplay based, you know, about sewing or competitions or whatever. And I know that Fran did like a live shoot demonstration this weekend as well, which was really fantastic. So seeing more of a focus on photographers and what they can offer. But I also think it's just some people looking to make a quick buck at con, because they're like, oh, well, these people want photos, I'll charge them for it, rather than wanting to do it the proper way.
In terms of the quality thing you mentioned, because you're bang on right, if you have a stand inside, you can 100% your photos will turn out the same every time if you've got the same lighting setup. So it's more for people that are like, you'll have a studio quality photo of your cosplay with the composite editing, because if you're fighting natural daylight outside, it doesn't matter how many studio lights you've got, the lighting will change for every photo. So the ones inside would be more for like I'm guaranteeing you a full composite of this image, so you're likely to be charging much higher prices. But the people that have done like bigger builds, bigger costumes, like Game of Thrones, stuff like that, will probably want like that with the dragon or the halls or whatever for that kind of thing. But I don't think it should replace outside stuff, because the outside stuff shouldn't be there. But if you're working with someone outside and they're charging you a lot of money, I would be very hesitant unless they were like incredible, because they can't guarantee that it's not going to rain or it's not going to be too windy. Whereas inside, you could book in advance because you are guaranteed that photo. And I think there's like a trust level involved, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Just wanted to say one thing though. I have heard no evidence to say that anyone that was shooting in the barrier area were charging. So I just want to put that very clear, that no one that I've heard
as a disclaimer.
Yeah, just no, because generally, I don't want people to say, "What? Wait, what were they charging?" No, I've heard nothing about anyone charging in that area. So please do not get onto. Oh, like,
but
no.
If you were shooting with me, please know you now owe me 50 quid. You now owe me 50 quid. If you listen to this podcast and you shot with me, you owe me 50 quid.
If you've listened to the podcast, you owe us all 50 quid.
Yeah, no, hire me, by the way.
One for the podcast. Cool. All right. I think that covered a lot of things that I had on my angry old man list anyway. Was there anything else before I complete my list, or I can complete my list?
No, I mean, like, I remind Grumble about like the use of megaphones. Like, please,
Okay.
I know it's hard using.
Yeah.
It's hard getting everyone's attention at an outdoor meet, but I please don't shout in my ears about it.
Okay, off the back of that, then, especially me talking about like neurodivergent people with ADHD and autism and all that. There's already enough noise as it is with people chattering and all that. And I'm not saying we can't have music or anything like that, but please, this is not just to the Congos, but I saw some stalls have this as well. Can you not have that loud of music blaring out loud, please? I think even I got a bit distracted when I walking around the stalls. Go, oh, that's that's a bit loud, isn't it? Don't need that noise. And I know the music at the stands was there to attract people to their stands. I do get that marketing ploy, but I think again, just knowing your audience, knowing who's going, I can imagine that can put a few people off. That's all I want to say. But yeah, the con goers are the speakers. Even like the mini speakers was enough for me to go, oh.
I really hate that. I'm not even going to be nice about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've got ADHD. It's not even that. I fucking hate you and I want to throw you out a window. Like, if you're obnoxious enough to need a theme tune to walk around to, like, die. I just...
Just to say that, just to say the views of Charlotte does not represent my views or anyone on Food and Cosplay or my network or any
other. It doesn't
other.
represent their views, except he did tell me to say at the beginning of the podcast. But no, I really can't stand it. It's so distracting. It means that if you're talking to your friends, you have to start shouting. And also, like, I was with someone who's hard of hearing, so every time someone was near us with a speaker, he couldn't hear a word I was fucking saying, and I was like. He struggles enough with the background crowd noise. Like, it is just... I know there was a group doing, like, those kind of K-pop dance things where, like, you play a song and people run in and dance to it. They actually had their music at quite a respectable volume, given that everyone has to hear it. And they were also just having fun, and they were in the corner of the grass. And I was like, you know what? I'm here for that, because not only is it very cool, I couldn't hear it until I was right next to it. That, to me, is, if you're going to have music for a purpose, how it should be. The people who walked through with music at max volume on speakers, that is uncomfortable, unpleasant, and just, like, obnoxious. Especially like, it's not your con, it's everyone's con. And I will start throwing things if I have to.
Just hard agree, honestly. Like, it's selfish, like, main character energy. It's like getting people to move from, like, a communal sitting area so you can film something. Like, come on, we're all there to have, like, a good time. Exactly. Like, if you want to film something, go outside of the barriers and do it. Like, leave the rest of us alone.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just off the back of that, that's just like talking about noise and all that. The other thing I just want to bring up very quickly, if everyone else has done theirs, it was brought up earlier, but I just want to bring it into this section. I find that for a few editions now of MCM, we've been saying, oh, security getting better and better and better. They're being consistent here, consistent there. I felt like this edition, security just dropped the ball, not completely, a little bit. That there was just inconsistent information about what we can and can't do. So I stayed within the barriers and saw people doing things outside the barriers, and I was questioning, well, hang on, are we now allowed outside or not? And I didn't want to be shouted at, and I didn't want to be, like, told off. I didn't want my badge to be taken away. But how come these people were? And I think they kind of were saying, yeah, you can, but you can't. And like, well, hang on, that doesn't help me at all. And I'm what's the word? Summarizing and highlighting the conversation I had with a security guy. But I think I can see from his point of view, is like he's going, I'm just following what I got told. And didn't feel like it was consistent through every security guard and people I was speaking to about it. So yeah, I just want to mention that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, although most people followed the rules and a few people shot outside, it was much more manageable than before. But I was like, wait, can we not? Because, I'm fully fine if it's not, but, just make it more clear. Although a couple of my friends did need to speak to security at one point and said that they were fantastic. So that was good feedback to get, I guess. Like, every time someone's gone to the XL with a problem that I've heard, their team's been amazing. It's just maybe give them some more clarity on, like, the updated MCM policies, especially as a lot of the people working are volunteers. So be like, this year we've brought in XYZ, please keep on top of it.
Exactly. Any other bads before I get into the ugly?
I don't think so.
Cool. All right, cool. Right, I've been waiting for this one.
Oh, here he goes.
Oh no.
No, I will say this right now. This ugly is just a very personal thing. Nothing that the event can do to change my mind about this per se. And I don't blame the event itself. It is what it is. It's the machine, the cog that's it's become bigger than it was 5-10 years ago. I found the whole experience of Saturday just draining. I found the whole day both the weather, the people, and I mean people, not just cosplayers, not congos, not security, just everyone included, because it was so, like I said, because outside was so crowded, and I'd like to think. I said on the panel, I don't think I'm creative. Maybe I shortchanged myself when I said that. But when I'm trying to be creative, when I'm trying to find space to shoot here and there, it felt very limiting for once, for a change. And I hate to say this again to bring up another event, but I was going, my God, I actually really had a good time at MegaCon Live, because it felt like the good old days of MCM, where I could shoot photos anywhere and everywhere and there was space everywhere. Whereas now they've penned everyone in and they made that penned area, the barrier area, even smaller. It just made it worse for me for an experience for a Saturday. And like I said, you had, as I mentioned in the badge, you got the cosplay meets there. You got other photographers there. You got people who are monopolize the grey walls so that they don't have to deal with that, but therefore you can't cross that stream a little bit, or it just feels like area that you can't use. Just I just found that whole day, that whole experience, I just found it really draining to actually have a good time, and that's made me get to a point now where I'm going, do you know what? I might have to change how I deal with an MCM weekend, where I just do photography on a Friday and a Sunday, and Saturday, if I can get to do more panels on a Saturday, I will do that instead. That is literally the plan I am more or less setting in stone now for the next future MCM in October onwards. So yeah, that's really my ugly. And like I said, this is a very personal thing, because I'm not asking MCM or Repop or Excel to go, oh, give me more space, give me a photography area, give me, sell less tickets. I'm not demanding any of that. I understand that to Repop, it's a business. They need more people to go through the gates to make money. I'm not disillusioned from that. I understand that, the people around the Excel, like the hotel people use it, patrons, people who live there go, oh my God, we've got no space to walk down. Can you make these pavements wider? They've done that. I'm not gonna make that. I'm not gonna go, oh, can you push the barriers back to where they were to satisfy me? I'm not saying things like that. I understand these things are to make everyone happy. I am not, I'm not stupid in that level. But I have to take the viewpoint from myself as a whole. I've gone, I did not have a great Saturday. I did not feel that I made the best for myself, for my photography, the experience of a day with the people and where they were. I couldn't do it. Like you said, the cosplay meets now, they used to be some of it on the east entrance near the Aloft Hotel, but that now, I'm assuming that's still a building site, or they just said, no, you can't do that there, you have to do it inside the barriers now. So
there is a lot of building work
yeah,
around the XL, so
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that is also part of the problem around East Entrance. But you also weren't feeling well on the Saturday.
oh yeah,
which probably didn't help you.
Okay,
Eddie. I think you'd have had a better time if you weren't making friends in the bathroom.
Thank you.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Thank you for being graphic. Okay, just
that was polite. What are
that
you
was very
talking
well.
about?
Just very briefly, is what happened was that I think the adrenaline, the stress, the nerves of going onto the panel got to me, but also someone gave me an energy drink, and I don't do energy drinks. So I think the combination of all those 4 things and the heat as well, so 5 things, got to me. I was fine at the panel. It's literally the moments afterwards when I think the adrenaline just went, well, we needed we've got too much.
Gotta go somewhere.
It's got to go somewhere. There's too much of it in your body. We need to find an exit. Oh, down there is an exit. We'll just use that one. So yeah, that's what happened to me. So thank you, Beth, for politely telling people what happened to me that day.
But also just for context as to why you were probably also having a time. Not to like downplay your experience at all, because I know so many people that now just don't do a Saturday of MCM, and like my partner's one of them. He will come to con with me, and he used to come for the full weekend, but he absolutely hated the Saturdays. It was too busy, crowded, hot. So I told him, I was like, no, don't bother coming. And I now know a lot of people that will just do the Friday and the Sunday. I'm still fine with it, weirdly, and I'm someone that like hates crowds and heat, but I've actually found, for me personally, the last couple of Saturdays, like I want to say for the last like 3 events, I've actually stayed way longer than I used to, because I used to get like lunchtime and just go home.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I live nearby. I would come in for, doors open at 9 a.m, see what I wanted to see. I'd book photo shoots in the morning, and then I'd just leave because it was too much. So I think it's just with the evolution of the event, and Comic Con's becoming more popular.
Yeah.
It's like we've got to kind of reevaluate how we do things and how we handle things.
And like, just to go back a further conversation, I was just going to bring this up. We were talking about the number of halls and all that. Oh, could they do more? Looking at a map of like the number, so if each hall number is a hall, it goes up to 22. So there's plenty more space we could occupy to spread out if we wanted to. But again, like I said just earlier, for that to happen, I'm assuming Repop need to build up capital to go, oh, we're going to expand, we need to build that capital to then hire that out. But also it might have been hired out for another event, for another people, or whatever. Insurance and all that. Like I said, I'm not a businessman. I don't know these things, so I can't speak on behalf of Repop. I just know there's more space. Why they don't use it?
More space will mean more ticket sales. So the more... I don't think it would get any less busy. I think we'd have a little bit more room for sure, but I also think they would then say, oh, okay, you've got X amount more space. That means X amount more tickets, and Repop, they would sell them.
100%, 100%, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not blind. I'm not stupid to suggest that Repop like that can change things like that. Like, if they change it for that, but actually, they'll start going, well, actually, if we're doing that, we might as well do this as well, and so on and so forth, and all that. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why the ugly is a very personal thing, and I'm not blaming Repop, the MCM, for it, because, like Beth said, she's the one. You're the one. You said, "Oh, I was actually okay." Like, that's good. I was almost called you Catherine. Don't know why we call you Catherine, Charlotte. But Charlotte, I don't know if she had a good time or not on a Saturday. So that's what I'm saying. My ugly was, personal.
I think Saturday was fine. It was a bit busy, especially outside. But then again, it's unlike England to have nice weather like that. So, and it was quite warm inside. So it was a understandably busy one. And I think we mentioned in like the green room 2 years ago, there was a con that felt genuinely unsafe, like properly, and was 100% oversold. Whatever anyone says, like I've never seen that many people in one place at one time before.
Yeah,
this compared to that was like a busy event, and let's be honest, if we want MCM to keep going, they have to have a busy event. So it's like a necessary evil. But I know a lot of my friends and stuff generally plan cosplays for Saturday that are smaller or less bulky, or it used to be the big cosplay day, and now it's kind of like Friday or Sunday is, because it's just too busy to wear like the big builds, which I think is quite an interesting like change that people have had to make over the years.
Absolutely, yeah. So anyway, like I just said, I don't want to go on and on about it. Like I said, it's a very personal thing. If there's no other uglies from you two, I would like to just go through some comments that I've just seen online. I hope there's things that we've said that you go, you're kind of all right. I know I've done a lot of the talking here about some of the viewpoints, but I hope, I'm assuming some of them resonate with you as well.
Yeah, I can't think of any specific like uglies for me. Like overall, I was lucky. I had like a really good event. I think my main gripe is just like the amount of freestanding equipment that photographers take outside, and I wish we would have more space out there. It was nicer when we could kind of free roam a bit better.
No, absolutely.
But the not having the fringe stage was great. So
oh my god, that should have been in the good. I forgot to put in the good.
Sorry, the good. No fringe stage for the same reasons as we gave for the bad for live music. It's just too loud. Like, put it inside.
Thank you. Anyway, so I'm just reading, and then just to back up some of the things that I've said already. Becky Dreamer said the main thing sticks out for me that is they changed how they went about ticket collection for people with accessibility issues. Previously you had to walk through a hole down exhibition center to collect the tickets and zigzag. So it's good that like I said, Repop are picking that up. Thursdays, me and my groups of friends went to on Saturday, and we went our own as our original characters, cosplayers there. We were given little crochet flowers on little postcards, so they seem to have had a good time. I'm just trying very, very quickly. I should have done this when people else was talking. Someone else mentioned about the accessibility. So that was on my TikTok. Let me check my Instagram. Hang on. What's a cosplay mentioned about overall had a good time? Did find a lot of photographers ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous though. Yeah, I would cancel that person, whoever that person is. But yeah,
Yeah, it's all these damn male photographers and their light stands, you know.
Hire me.
Yeah.
I do always. I feel bad when it's so everyone's like male photographers. I'm like, yeah.
No, but it's. I mean,
it's also good for me. So
yeah, if it's true, but if it's true, it's true.
If it's true, it's true. Even though it's sad.
Yeah. Lisa, art. Every year I wish I went to more performance and panels, especially for the fringe and creator stage, are generally really fun. I wasn't that bothered with the crowd because I tried to get my time in Artist Alley in before general admissions. So yeah, so again, oh god, what I don't know what I am doing, cause I enjoy my time, but it feels like there's less and less creative shops every year, mostly AliExpress. So again, Beth, you were mentioning about AliExpress and things like that. So
can I ask a really dumb question?
Go for it.
I'm sure they're on the website, but are the panels actually advertised anywhere inside? Because I never see a sign being like X panel, X time. And someone came up to me when I was in a Doctor Who cosplay and said, "Oh, are you going to the David Tennant panel?" And I was like, I didn't even know he was doing a panel. So, like, where do you get this information if you're not if you don't have internet and you're not trawling through the apps? And also, where are the panels? Because I don't know where the stages are.
Yeah, no, go on, Beth.
There's there's so many more stages than there used to be, which I think is also quite confusing, because I know like the bigger ones are now in different parts of the venue entirely. They're not in the main halls. There's a lot. If you go past the stages, I know there was some of them, like the live stage had like a TV screen up like in front of it that had the schedule for the day on, but I'm not sure if all of them have that.
So it's not like on the general posters, you have to be at that stage.
You have to kind of be passing that stage and seeing it as you go by.
How early do you have to queue for them?
Oh,
I don't know, because I think the David Tennant one, a lot of the big ones they do in advance, so you have to book specifically ahead of time. And I think with him, they had the actual panel room he was in that you could pre-book, and it would guarantee you entry, but not where you were sat. And then they live streamed it to the two other larger panel rooms, and those also filled out. And I think you had to reserve your spot for that as well. But that was all online in advance.
Okay, because this girl was like, "Are you going to the David Tennant panel?" Like, weird question, and I said no, and she just left. So presumably she was looking for a ticket for something, which is why I was kind of confused, because I was like, "Are the panels all now ticketed?" But I guess to guarantee you a spot in the room, like, it makes sense, but it just requires you to have known that in advance.
Yeah, it's all requiring on you being chronically online, really. It's all stuff you find. It will come up on like their Instagram, I guess, is like, because that's the social media platform I use the most. It's on like Instagram, and they mention it on Facebook. But really, if you're just like a casual, you're someone who just like, I like to go to Comic-Con, but they don't cosplay or anything, so they don't have a specific social media presence around that community, it would be so easy to miss. And I did also have a couple of people tell me David Tennant felt very booked out, sold out. Like there was
I know how many things he did, and it was a lot.
Yeah, a friend of a friend was saying that their mate turned up at like 9 a.m, queued up for their autograph, and he obviously did a batch of autographs, then went off and did his panel, did some autographs, went and did like all the photo shoots that he was booked to do, and I think he stayed until about 8 o'clock at night. And some people were waiting like 5-6 hours. So I kind of think MCM absolutely could have handled that a lot better and not oversold that. But that was all secondhand. So I'm sure people will be able to chip in with their own actual like lived experiences of that. But I do now remember that conversation I had with somebody yesterday.
No, yeah, absolutely. Just to finish off, just from I don't know what I'm doing, cause comment. They also mentioned about the security, not able to take photos beyond the barriers and security. Just let me just read what they said. Just some random security told we're at risk of to be told off by some random to go. So they weren't. I think in a similar mindset to me. They weren't too sure about the rules or just weren't they're worried about being told off by security. Jess.s.cos. Personally, I really had a good time at the con. It was much better than some previous years. So again, it seems like a lot of people had good vibes of it at a general level. We weren't aggressively all forced out of the convention space at the same time either. That was picked up by someone else. Let me go find that person. Penelope Shoot Cosplay. They said, think the main thing that stood out to me is yesterday when con ended, we sat in the hallway of Excel and not rushed or pushed out by staff. So we gave it 13 minutes, meaning that we could leave and walk straight out without like being crushed by the queues to to the train station and things like that. So again, it might be what things that they've learned from previous events that they've got. Let's not push them all out at the thing, because I think I was surprised on the Sunday evening that I swear I remember one year security went 6 o'clock, right, out all now, and you're like, okay, all right, geez.
They were really good. They gave us a timer.
Yeah.
So there was a bloke walking through the trees, and kudos to him if it was on his own back or not. But one of the security guys he was like, 15 minutes, like make sure these are your last shoots, last photos, start packing up, getting ready, and then and they were like bantering with people. They were really nice about it. They're like slowly moving people out.
Yeah.
They weren't like drop your stuff, go. Like they're giving everyone a time. They're giving everyone kind of leeway to wander. And I thought that was clever because no one could. It wasn't like when you're shooting and someone just goes, "You need to leave," and gets really aggressive about it. So like, kudos to them for doing the trees that way because no one felt harried. Which I thought was good.
No, that's good. Yeah.
That is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I should ask, and I'll start. Actually, I've always started with Beth. I'll ask. I don't know. I was going to call you Catherine again, both on purpose or accidentally, but I almost called you Katie. Damn it! Oh God, Charlotte, it's because I can't see your name on the screen.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, because I can't see your name, so I keep.
Call me Agatha, baby. I'll be a covering the switch any day.
Agatha, overall, did you have a good or a bad or an ugly experience at the event? I probably should end that as a question to both of you.
Overall, I had a good time at this event. I felt much more relaxed than other years. The spacing inside felt better. The security that interacted with me, like the guy outside, seemed much more like on top of it and relaxed, not quite as like, mental. And yeah, overall, I just there was nothing that I at any point thought I feel unsafe or I feel rushed or uncomfortable, which I have done at other cons. So I think this was a really good con overall. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Beth, I'll ask you the same question. Good. Did you have a good or a bad or an ugly experience of MCM London?
I had a really good experience, and I have to hand it to Reed Pop. I think we went so many years with things not improving, or we'd have an event where, hey, this route works really well, and then all of a sudden they change it and it would be shite the next time around. I have to hand it to them that it really seems like the last 3 events, at least, I want to say, things have been steadily improving. They've really listened to feedback about security, about accessibility, and all that sort of thing. And we do have the downsides of, oh, hey, we've lost this extra outdoor space, and photography rules are a bit more strict. But I think on the whole, it feels like the con is really on the up. I don't know if that's just me, but it definitely feels it.
I've always said you're welcome to your personal opinion and your personal thoughts. It doesn't invalidate mine or yours or whatever. So I know where you're coming from. I mean, if someone asked me this question, if it was good, bad, and the ugly, I would have to say overall it was good. But I mean, I would put, rather than a capital G, lowercase g. Like I said, I think a lot of it was just personal experiences that I found troubling more than anything else. It wasn't like I found, oh, security were rude, all security were rude. There was no reason why I was squished and squashed in the outdoor area. Like I could see why it was crowded outside, but I wasn't going to go, oh, they've oversold. It's not that. I saw a good selection of artisans and shops. I didn't look at them specifically at the shops. Actually, someone said to me that the shops they found in the south? So, basically, the area in the south was more was better than the north. I think what they were trying to say was that there's more variety of things to see and do in the south compared to the north. Sorry.
Oh, that's where I disagree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the South was more. I mean, it had Artist Alley, which is fantastic, but it felt there was a lot more corporate. And also, I forgot a grumble. There was there was Whatnot there, and there was eBay.
Yes.
And they were doing a lot of live streams and live sales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think on the plus side, great people can, I don't know, bid on Pokemon cards and shit in person. And there was a lot of crowd interaction, which I think was really good. But I think it also just added a lot of times to excess noise.
Yeah.
And so some points I was just there I can tell you're live streaming which way is your camera pointing, because sometimes I don't always want to be in the background of people's nonsense.
Yeah.
You do accept it, especially at Comic-Con, and loads of people got creator passes, and even those that don't are filming content. But with stuff like that, I'm just there you've got massive corporate stalls where I'd actually kind of prefer, especially with stuff like eBay, I'd actually prefer more smaller artists, I guess. But
very odd, because they were live streaming, but you could buy online, and I was like, but why are you doing this from a convention hall? You've just made your life really hard. And
yeah,
maybe if they had some sellable stuff, or I mean, you can make your own Pokemon card, which was quite cool, but the whole thing was just a little bit weird. Although I will say it was an improvement, because last time they had a con there, AliExpress actually, or one of them, was actually sponsoring Cosplay Central, which I think was a massive mistake to make, because everyone underneath that sign had handmade from scratch out of leather their costumes. To have a massive sign over you saying sponsored by AliExpress or Temu, whichever one it was shit. So this year they didn't have that, and I think that was good.
Good. Oh, that's good. Cool. Excellent. I'm noticing the time, so I'm going to end the podcast. I'm hoping my guests will still be around to do a quick podcast extra, so come over to the Patreon if you want to hear that. May have a extra ugly gripe. I don't know if I really want to share this one out loud. They already know about it, but I'm going to discuss it in the green room before I say it out loud. Maybe I'll talk about what I might do for October when I turn up. Things I might do for the panels, things like that. What was I going to say? Anyway, on that note, thank you very much, both of you, for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your views and your opinions of the event. Again, I'm going to start with Agatha. Where can we find you on the social medias?
You can find me on Instagram at charlottewoolrich_photography or _cosplay. My surname is spelled WOOLRYCH. You can also find me on my brand new website, www.charlottewoolrichphotography.com, which has my client galleries if you think you're missing photos from me and you just haven't checked. And my pricing if you'd like to hire me. Same on all socials, and you can ignore Twitter because I only use it to stalk Doctor Who stuff. So
Okay.
there you go.
Fair enough then. Beth, where can they find you on the social medias?
I am the most active on Instagram at Cosplay. You can find me. I still have a Facebook page. I think I remember to use it once in a blue moon. TikTok, I simply don't remember to use. No, not to be I'm too old for TikTok, but it's not.
Yes, because I tagged you in a video recently.
Oh yeah, no, I open that once in a blue moon because it's really bad for me. I will just end up scrolling on it for eternity. Yeah, if you ever want to pick my brains or have questions about how I make shit, Instagram's the best place. I don't use Twitter anymore because it's a hellscape.
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of Threads, actually, surprisingly, which makes me feel like a boomer that still uses LinkedIn.
I think
yeah,
both of you should use Blue Sky. That's what I'm going to say.
I do have it, but I just found it was too quiet.
Oh, but it's nice though. It's nice and quiet.
Yeah.
No, I'm always trying to boost that platform. But anyway, if people need to find me on the social media, such as Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, and all that malarkey, if you go to foodandcosplay.org/links, that's where you'll find all my social media links. If you go to foodandcosplay.org/podcast, you'll find previous recorded podcasts by these two, other guests, other subjects, other reviews. Oh, that reminds me, Agatha, do you want to do Doctor Who review soon?
Yeah, I absolutely would love to, because I love Doctor Who and that is my entire world, and I'm just so confused and so thrilled with it.
Cool, because I might break a cardinal sin and get you back for next week's episode. But anyway, that's for the
sexy double bill of Charlotte. You're all welcome.
I know, right? And if you go to, as I mentioned, patreon.com/food and cosplay, you'll hear the podcast extra following this this theming of Comic Con at MCM. So yeah. So if there's nothing else to add, no more handles, anything like that, can we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. On that note, then, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you two. Yeah, I did include you, Beth. Yeah.
I think I was remarkably.
Yes.
I didn't slag you off a lot this week.
No, you didn't
It
actually.
It could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
Start now.
Yeah, don't start now. Don't start now.
We're just gonna get Eddie in the next bit.
Don't.
Yeah. Pay to hear us give Eddie a hard time.
Well, on that note, then I'm going to say goodbye, and they're going to say goodbye. So bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.